Today, we're diving deep into the incredible strategic shift happening at IndiGo, India's powerhouse airline. We're going to look at three massive decisions the company made to go from being a domestic titan to a true global contender. It is an absolute masterclass in corporate strategy.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we'll get a real sense of just how dominant IndiGo is. Then, we're going to unpack the three pillars of its transformation: building a fortress, making that global pivot, and creating a new hybrid model. And finally, we'll wrap it all up and ask what this grand gamble really means for the future.
Okay, first things first. To really understand why these changes are so huge, you have to get your head around the sheer scale of IndiGo's operation. It's just massive.
You know, calling IndiGo a market leader is a huge understatement. We're talking about a staggering 62% of the entire domestic market in India. It's not just a big slice of the pie. On a lot of key routes, it is the pie. And all that dominance, well, it translates directly into cash. With a net profit around $860 million, IndiGo is one of the very, very few airlines in the world that consistently makes a ton of money in an industry that's famous for losing it. They're not just surviving, they are absolutely thriving.
So let's be clear, we're not talking about some regional player here. This is a global heavyweight, consistently ranked as one of the most valuable airlines on the planet. Which really brings us to the big question, right? If you're already that successful, why on earth would you risk it all with such a radical change?
Okay, let's get into their first big move. And what's fascinating is that it wasn't about going on offense. It was about building a defensive wall so strong that no one could touch them for the next decade.
This move literally sent shockwaves through the entire industry. Because this wasn't just another airplane order, it was a pure power play.
They ordered 500 new planes. I mean, just let that sink in. The largest single order ever. But honestly, the number itself isn't even the most strategic part. The real genius here was all about the timing.
Think of it like a strategic blockade. By buying up pretty much every single production slot Airbus had available between 2030 and 2035, IndiGo cornered the market. So, while they get a steady stream of brand new, super efficient jets, all their competitors? They're stuck at the back of a very, very long line. Now for the second pillar. This is where they took an 18-year-old company rule, a core piece of their identity, and just shattered it, all to attack a brand new frontier: long-haul international flights.
For almost 2 decades, IndiGo's magic formula was simplicity, just one type of plane. So this order for these massive, wide-body A350s was a fundamental change to their DNA. It was a direct shot at the big, established global players like Emirates and Air India.
And this slide really shows you the evolution in their thinking. Before, they were kind of just dipping their toes in the water by renting planes. It was a temporary fix that ate into their profits and gave them zero control over the experience. Now, by buying their own fleet, they are all in.
The goal here is crystal clear. They want to be the one airline that takes you all the way from India to Europe or the US. By owning the planes, they control everything: the seats, the service, and most importantly, they get to keep the much higher profits that come from these really lucrative long-haul routes.
All right, let's move to the final piece of the puzzle. This is where IndiGo tweaked its core identity to go after a very specific and very valuable type of customer.
So to get this next part, you have to remember what IndiGo has always been: a pure, no-frills, low-cost carrier, or LCC. Their entire motto was built on being ruthlessly efficient: one type of plane, super fast turnarounds at the gate, and cramming in as many seats as possible to keep fares low.
This was a bombshell. By introducing a business class, IndiGo was deliberately blurring the lines. They realized that they were flying tons of business travelers around, but their full-service competitors were the ones capturing all the high-paying corporate accounts.
It's a classic hybrid strategy, and it's so smart. By adding just a small 12-seat business class on their busiest routes, they can grab those premium fares without having to completely re-engineer their super-efficient, low-cost model. It's the best of both worlds.
So there you have it. You've got a defensive blockade, a massive global offensive, and an evolution of their core product. When you put all three of these huge strategic pillars together, what do you actually get?
Honestly, this quote from the source material just nails it. The airline is fundamentally changing who they are. They're no longer satisfied with just being the cheapest, most efficient way to get from one Indian city to another. They want to be a premier global airline. And the numbers? Well, they totally back this story up. A huge fleet gives them massive economies of scale. An order book of almost 1,000 planes? That's guaranteed growth for the next decade. their planes are still flying nearly full, which shows they're still incredibly efficient. And critically, international flying is already almost 30% of their business. The global pivot isn't coming, it's already here.
So this leaves us with the big central question of this whole case study. IndiGo built an absolute empire on keeping things simple. Now it's embracing complexity to fuel its global ambition. So is this a brilliant, necessary evolution, or is the airline risking the very magic, the secret sauce that made it so successful? What do you think?